Okay?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, wow, that is a great episode, blah, blah, blah. And Becky's like, oh, my God, I see the cheese balls, like, in the corner of the picture.
Oh, yeah. Right now, Lily.
Oh, I want those cheese balls so bad.
Hola, hola, hola. Soy el torte para la mesa. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Welcome.
Impersonating Jose, impersonating you.
Yeah, here we
Impersonating
are.
you.
Welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. That was me in doing an impression of my brother-in-law Jose, doing an impression of me doing the intro. And I would say I'm going to talk about a couple of things that people have written about and enjoyed recently, and one of those things has 100% been Jose's introduction. We've gotten a lot of funny messages about that, so I felt like I had to do my own version of it.
Do you have to be that close to the mic?
No, but that was just for the intro. I don't know. Okay, you have to get a little bit closer. Okay. Because right now, we are very lucky to have not one, but not two, but three people crowded around the microphone.
Not three.
No,
Three people.
three people crowded around a microphone together. And in our house, in our temporary house in the basement, and we've got one sister in California. So I'll start with Becky in California. How are you?
I am so good. I am amazing. My very good friend Melanie Lubin Zimmerman surprised. Well, she didn't really surprise me this weekend. She's in town this weekend for a wedding, and it was more like, surprise, I'm here, and now we're hanging out all weekend.
Or you're a new mom and somebody told you they were coming into town and you just forgot, and then it's like, surprise.
I mean, she also, to be fair, she also has two kids, and so, like she said, her plan was just to arrive and then get everything organized. So, because I have a kid and don't plan anything in advance, it really just worked out for the best. So she's in town, and I'm just in the best mood. We're having so much fun. It's an amazing Labor Day weekend, and Melanie and I actually share a very special movie memory, and I'm very excited to tell the story. It was 15 years ago, when Melanie and I were living in Israel. We were doing a year abroad, and we were living in Israel. And I forget what happened, but I was having a really terrible day. Maybe I'd gotten into a fight with a friend or something. I don't know. I was having this really miserable day. And to cheer me up, Melanie said, "Come on, let's just go to the movies." And this is there was internet, obviously, but it's not like we had internet on our phones. And so we just got in a cab. We went to the movie theater. We didn't know what was playing or what times they were playing, but we just knew going to a movie would cheer us up. We turned up at the theater, and we're too late. Movies they're done for the night. The last movie has half an hour left until it's over, and the theater is locked up and closed. And it was such a bummer because I was already in this terrible mood, and we had slept out there. But Melanie was determined. So she knocked on the door of the movie theater. She kept banging until finally these young guys who were her usher, the kids that worked at the theater, the ushers, the ticket guy came to the door, and they're like, "What's going on?" And she explains what's happening, and she convinces them that even though the movie theater is closed and they can go home for the night, that they should play a movie for us from the beginning. So she had them keep the whole movie theater open just for the two of us, and we got to have a private screening of a movie.
Wait, hold on a second. What was the movie?
Oh, Dirty Dancing 2, Havana Nights.
Oh my God. They could not ask for something better. Who's that, Diego Luna is in that?
Yeah, Diego Luna is in it. And to this day, I have no idea. To this day, I have an affection for that movie. So
well, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. All right.
I did not remember that movie existed until you just told that story.
I will never forget that movie.
I never forget that movie exists. So here we are in Arlington, Virginia. We have Lily, who's been visiting, so she's here in person.
Okay. Can I just say that when you IMDb Dirty Dancing, that movie doesn't even come up. Like the TV
it's called
version,
Dirty
like
Dancing
the live TV version that they did on ABC or whatever comes up before
Havana Nights.
Because it's really called Havana Nights, and
it
then they added
the
the Dirty Dancing part later, I bet.
No.
They said,
It does come
seems like
up.
Dirty Dancing.
It does come up. I just didn't pay attention to it.
And then we have our special guest, often the subject of this podcast, the official pizza
Do
chef.
you listen to all of them? Because I talk about you quite a bit.
The
And your taste in things. All things media and movies.
the official pizza chef of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. The official vegetable eater of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. My wife, Allison, also known as Alli, is here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Alli has been enduring a lot of close quarters family experience lately, and as a result, she's going to be weighing in on many of the pop culture things that we've had to endure. But in the meantime,
It sounds like a trap.
is there anything anything on your mind that you'd like to talk about? Say hello.
I don't think we could physically be closer to each other while recording this. Like I'm
That's
touching
true.
I'm
both of
touching
you.
your tissue right now. With my foot. Because I have nowhere to put my foot.
It's fine.
Just resting on your thigh.
Eventually, when the full Pancake Studios are up and running, we will be in good shape.
Oh, it's really loud up there.
So I would like to start.
Like, the people on the podcast are going to hear what it's like to hear people walk above this basement.
It's loud. I've been
loud.
fielding complaints from Lily, by the way, all day. It's
I
amazing.
don't have a fetch list until I get to your house. 'Cause, yeah.
So, before we get into the meat of the show, of which we have a lot of pop culture and movies and things to talk about, we have some exciting Friday Night Movie / Pancake for the Table news. Next June, on June 7th to 9th, Pancake for the Table and the Friday Night Movie Podcast will have a table at All-Star Comic-Con in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. This is an amazing comic con that we participated in as regular participants last year. That's where the great engagement with Ozone happened, and those guys who are running that are super. They are really trying to make a con that I would say is, I think of it as like the con of the people. And we're really thrilled to be a part of that. And so people should follow what they're preparing, All-Star Comic-Con or the All-Star Comic-Con, on their social media. And we will be bringing updates between now and then of all the fun stuff we're going to do there to make it a fun experience to come by our table. But recommend people check it out. I know they're already selling tickets and they're already booked up quite a bit when it comes to the booths, and we're going to be one of them.
Is this a pancake booth and a pod? Like, are we co-sharing with Pancake for the Table? Because I really want to use the phrase "pancake for the table."
This is why I have I have the marketing team here. So it's definitely going to be.
Which are going to ride your pancake tails.
So I would
coattails.
say, as we bill it, Friday Night Movie is the official podcast of Pancake for the Table. But at the billing, in terms of what I signed up for, it is Pancake for the Table and Friday Night Movie. Those are the two main things that we'll be doing there. And in my dream world, one or maybe both of my sisters will join me. Join me, and we will tape live episodes there and get some interviews and stuff while we're there. So, anyways, the All-Star Comic-Con, big announcement, Pancake for the Table and Friday Night Movie. We'll be there, and we will keep you posted. Okay, with that in mind, I feel like it's time to get into the show because we've got a lot to talk about. And as an aperitif, as an appetizer, to finish talking about all of the movies that we watched on the Vacation in the Outer Banks, I want to...
I'm fine, by the way. You're
What?
asking how I was.
Oh, how are you?
My feet are wet in your dirty basement.
It's a little bit soppy in here.
It rained a lot, and even though the rain falls from the sky to the ground, your basement has defied gravity, and the rain has come up from the ground into the basement floor. That's how I imagine it happening.
And Lily didn't even warn me. She said, "Oh yeah, there's a little bit of wet in the corner."
No, because I said the whole basement floor is wet, and you're like, it's just a corner. And then you walk down the stairs, like these sopping, carpety stairs from like the 60s. This is not actual Pancake nor Allison's house. They're renting a temporary house, so they renovate their actual house.
But please, Lily, make sure to trash it as much as possible.
Oh, for sure.
Say the worst things you possibly can about this.
I'm just saying, like, when you step down those stairs and your feet get into, like, soggy carpet, it's quite an interesting feeling.
So
And I led Shai down that dirty path with socks on.
Yeah,
Let him
so
squish his feet.
Lily's complaining about the soppy carpet, and I said, you know what would make this worse? Soppy socks. Thanks. So we're at the Outer Banks, and we have one more movie to report on, which is Tag. I think we can quickly give our impressions. I'll admit,
Oh, I forgot we watched that. That was so good.
Both Alli and I fell asleep, and then I tried to watch the rest of it and fell asleep at the same point. Or I got maybe one scene
I
first.
never saw the end of it.
So
cute.
Becky and Lily, just tell people about Tag. What'd you think of it?
2 thumbs up.
I thought
I
it
buy
was
it.
surprisingly heartfelt and surprisingly funny. I feel like a lot of those times those movies end up being more schlocky than funny, but I legitimately thought it was a cute. I was not, based on the premise, it's not a movie I was actually interested in seeing, and I did think it was a weird hodgepodge of a cast, but it actually came together really well. It was funny and heartfelt. Very
Agreed.
sweet.
100% agree, and it's
It's
not
a total
movie.
renter. I do recommend it if you're in the
Yeah.
mood for like a funny renter. It's a great
I mean,
like.
I said I'd buy it, but yeah, I guess I'd buy it so like I could share it with other people and be like, watch it. Like I bought it so you can watch it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like people wouldn't really believe me. But I don't need to own it, is what I mean to say. In that, I wouldn't have watched it though if you hadn't told us to.
I will. So quickly for the part. So for having been awake, my MVP of the movie was Ilsa Fisher. I loved having her in that movie.
I
think
love
she was
her.
hilarious.
She's
Isla.
the.
You don't pronounce the S in her
MVP.
name.
What?
It's not
Isn't it
Isla,
Isla?
It's Isla.
It's Isla?
Yeah, I
Well,
love
I
it.
thought it was Ilsa.
Well, the S
No,
is in the
it-
wrong place if her name is Ilsa.
Ilsa. It would be Isla.
Isn't it I?
But I think it's
it'd be
Isla.
Isla if you're doing it phonetically. It's
Huh.
ISL. You just like switch the letters because it makes no sense in your brain.
Yeah. All right.
No,
okay.
it's
What
not
Can
about
you
Isla.
say well, who's the girl that was in Lady Bird? Can you say her name for the public? Are you gonna have an ID to in some
I mean, I know how to say her name.
Saoirse
You want me
Ronan.
to-
Cersei.
Oh, but I
No,
was close.
it's Saoirse.
Saoirse?
Saoirse.
Saoirse.
Cersei? Cersei?
Are you
Saoirse.
confusing her with the woman?
But I
from
want you to say
Game
her
of
name, her
Thrones?
true name. It's Saurise.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
Saurzy.
No, she's just
It's
Saoirse.
Saoirse.
Yeah.
so
And Isla Fisher.
who was your MVP, Lily, of this movie?
I mean,
Mine-
Isla Fisher was amazing. she was so great, and I feel like that role was just like such. It must have been so much fun for her to play. But I really enjoyed. It's Ed Helms, Jeremy Renner, Hannibal Buress. I'm missing somebody. Oh, John Hamm. I love John Hamm in that.
And what's his name?
So you've now listed all of the cast, but who was your favorite?
John Hamm.
Oh, John Hamm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Alli, who was your
Okay.
favorite?
I feel like I lose the right to vote having slept through the last half of the movie. Like there could have been a major character turn that I did not remember because I was sleeping. So I'm out on this one.
Okay.
Alright.
Becky?
No, Isla Fisher as well. She's 100% my MVP of the movie. I agree. She just brings it to another level.
So Tag, a fun movie, one we didn't really expect. Now let's get into the meat of today's program, which is a movie I have been begging everybody to watch for the longest time. I'm hoping for some I Told You show action here, and that was Brigsby Bear.
You can give yourself I Told You show because this is a movie we would have recommended to you that you
Yeah,
wouldn't have wanted
agreed.
to see, and then you would have had to give it to us, so just give it to yourself.
And I have to tell you,
'Cause Becky and I were
it's-
always gonna like this
I have to
movie.
tell you, it's the type of movie that I would naturally love so much, but assume Shai would hate so much that I actually watched the first 3/4 of it in a state of anxiety, watching Shai not believing him that he really liked it as much as he did, being like, "This is a trick. This is a trick. No way he."
This is where, if you have not seen the movie, we'll probably end up talking spoilers, and I think it's really important to see the movie without spoilers.
Without
Not
knowing
because of
anything.
big twists, but because it's one of those movies that benefits from you not knowing what it's about. Other than
So
it's
pause, go see the movie, and then come back and join us.
So because I've seen the movie,
Which I know people have done that.
Really?
Because-
Yeah. Who've like stopped the podcast, like that night, watched the movie we were talking about, and then listened the next day.
Oh, come on, wonderful. Weight you carry.
I know.
That's huge.
Allie's like, I
Like
don't
I
even
tell
listen.
people all the time. Like I tell people all the time, I have a podcast.
So Becky,
Podcast
since
mobile.
we watched it when you were here last week, it was you, me, Vlad, and Allie. Why don't you lay down the experience and your summary of the movie, or your pitch, I don't know, your description.
So my description, okay, so this is a story about a young man who has lived his whole life sheltered and cut off from the rest of the world. And when he emerges, this is like, I think, a good way of describing it without spoiling it. When he emerges from this sheltered life to integrate back into society and meet his family and live with his family, his sole point of connection and his whole, huge part of his identity is this fictional television character called Brigsby Bear. And so, as part of his way of reconnecting or connecting with the world, he decides to take it upon himself to make a Brigsby Bear movie. And thus, chaos and hilarity and drama ensues.
And
I feel like that's a good summary.
Yeah, that is a good summary. And you talked to, and Kyle Mooney plays the main character.
Well, nobody knows who that is.
He's on Saturday Night Live, but he's not someone I
Saturday
knew
Night
who
Live.
he
He's
was.
funny.
Yeah, I don't think people know who he is. He's brilliant.
Mark Hamill has a key role. Matt Walsh has another key role. Michaela Watkins also has a key role. And Greg Kinnear.
Greg Kinnear is great.
then-
Matt Walsh is from Veep. He plays the dummy chief. Communications guy from Veep. He's hilarious.
And Beck, you said you had a feeling of anxiety during watching the movie. What gave you anxiety? Because I know you kept turning to me and I kept saying, "Don't worry, you're going to feel good at the end of this movie." Because remember, I liked it, and I don't like a movie.
Well,
I wouldn't like a
feel
movie that had stayed
right.
the beginning of this movie all the way.
So there's
Don't see the
one
movie
of the key plot points is child abduction, and so you're sort of watching it, and it has a very heavy. The film has a very heavy foundation because it's about this young man who's abducted as a child, and then when he resurfaces as an adult and meets his family again, there goes the rest of the plot. But it has this very heavy, like I said, very heavy foundation, and you're expecting it. Part of your brain is expecting it to be really a drama that focuses around the fact that he was kidnapped as a baby, but it's not. I mean, they use that as a way of bringing in certain themes, but it's not about that. So I kept watching it ready to be really emotional and really upset by this, but it's actually a very positive film that shows how this young man is connecting to the world and the people around him and making friends and changing the people around him, right? So that's why I was watching it with this feeling of anxiety, expecting it to be a lot sadder and upsetting than it was, because it was actually a very sweet, funny movie.
Yeah, I think that you summed it up really nicely there, which is that it should, in some ways it should be about child abduction, but it's really about this kid finding his connection and trying to demonstrate to people that this thing that they think is super weird, because he's fixated on it, because it's the only thing he knew as entertainment for the longest time, is actually super positive for him and part of his whole healing process and part of his whole connecting with his family. Lil, what would you like to say?
I have so much to say. I really like this movie. I feel like it's very, few and far between that you get to see a movie that's just so different and fresh and makes you feel like you're in an experience and in another world. And obviously it's somewhat of an alternate universe when you're watching a movie about child abduction, and it's not like a cop's drama or very depressing. And Becky and I once talked about how it's a bit ridiculous that the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is actually about a very disgusting, sad, horrible event, and that it's this very funny show, and you kind of have to suspend belief to watch it, because it's really uncomfortable if you actually think about what that show's based on, even though it's super funny. And then this, you kind of don't have to do that, because there's a weird workaround where he's abducted when he's a newborn. He didn't really know the difference, and while it's horrible what they did to him and what the parents suffered, in a weird way, his personality, or because we suspend belief for the movie, he just sort of is okay with this dichotomy between these other people and his new parents. And my favorite thing about the movie, though, is that he's very clear on what he needs to do to rejoin the world and move on and feel good, because he feels really bad. and that's make this movie finish. He says, I need to finish the story because there is no story, and nobody lets him do that, right? Like the adults, quote unquote, don't let him do that because it's not healthy and because it's like doesn't look good and you're not supposed to. And he goes to a therapist, you have to let go of Brigsby. And I compared it, Becky, I don't know if you agree, because I had a very awkward conversation with Shai about Secretary, but
oh yeah,
the movie,
by the way, Lily for
Secretaries
some reason
is-
thinks this movie has something to do with the spanking movie.
Secretary, for the record, on this podcast, is one of my favorite movies. I think that movie's brilliant.
A lot about you.
I adore that movie because I feel like it's just about so much more. And the way I can connect them is that, like, sometimes things that everybody else says you shouldn't be doing, it's not harming anyone, and it makes you happy. Because in the end, that relationship she has with James Spader heals her, because she's a damaged person in the movie. But when she can be herself...
Okay, now it makes more sense than when you tried to explain it to me the other day.
Well, because at first I did.
Also,
like,
I thought you were talking about Waitress half the time.
Right, which is a completely different movie. Wait,
I was like, this is a musical, Lily?
No, but you're like, how could they turn this into a musical on Broadway? Like, that's a different movie, Shai. But what Brigsby, what I really love about it is that this thing that technically wouldn't be good for him because it's like so much part of his abduction actually is a thing that truly heals him, connects him to other people, and connects him to his actual new family. New old family, and so that little element of it that's strung through it, I really, really loved. I thought that was very beautiful. And what we talked about, it's not spelled out. Like, they don't need to tell you that. You're watching and you can see it through the action in the movie and the different beats of the movie as it goes on. And I thought it was very well done, and I enjoyed it highly.
Now, I turned to Alli, who I think was crying through most of the
Really?
movie. Alli was weeping during this
Really?
movie.
What else made you weep besides all of it?
I mean, besides all of it. And no, it was interesting to watch it because I could see, Becky, how you would think that this would absolutely be a movie that Shai would hate. And so it was so fun to, like, be like the third part of that triangle, watching Shai be excited about the movie, watching Becky trust her instincts that Shai was telling the truth that he likes this movie. It was like this whole, like, tortured.
She's like, I'm sure there's a part of it
yeah.
where I was like, is he just messing with me?
Totally.
And like, is this a prank just to get back at me for all the like indie movies I made him watch?
Exactly. No, but I thought I enjoyed it significantly more than I expected to. I thought I was going to kind of hate this movie, and it had certain qualities that I immediately associated, rightly or wrongly, with Napoleon Dynamite. Like, there was something about like the
I think
way
that's
it
also
was
a fair
stylized and the way
comparison.
the timing was, and like kind of just certain things that made me feel like it was going to be that
It's like a
time
bit of
out
like
of
off-color humor.
like off color, and I was like expecting it to be super uncomfortable the way that Napoleon Dynamite is, and then I was like, oh, how pleasant! This is actually warm and fuzzy, and I'm sobbing. openly.
One of my favorite my favorite line in the movie is the sister who's such a bitch to him at first. Like, it's just so mean to him. She's like, what's wrong with you? And when he goes, well, I was abducted, so I think that has something to do with it. like, that line was just so sweet and funny. Yeah, so I just like that humor that's not doesn't take it too far, but it's cute.
So the movie is it's a tearjerker in a lot of ways, but it is really funny at times. There's some really funny stuff in the movie, but not comedy belly laugh, which is super smart humor. That is a really funny scene.
How he Googles is adorable. If you're paying attention, every time he Googles, he writes the question just so weird, which is a great thing because he wouldn't know how to Google. At one point, he writes something in Google, and he writes like how to make a movie with explosives. Period. Thank you! Exclamation mark.
Like, he's very polite. So, Beck, is there a particular funny part that resonated with you in the movie?
I'm trying to think about one moment in particular, but I think that line, I remember laughing really hard at that specific line about
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Because it's his delivery.
So
you
for
know,
me,
when I say the line, it's not funny, but his delivery and the way the actor says the line is hilarious.
I'm surprised that there's one element of that movie which I figured would be the first thing you guys thought was hilarious. And I'm like almost a little bit hurt as your brother who grew up with you that you didn't connect to the same thing that I did.
Well, I'm sure I did. I just,
It's the fact that the Brigsby Bear TV show, at a certain point in the movie, they talked to one of the actors who was on the show, and she assumes that the reason why it was so low budget was because it was Canadian. And when you look at the actual tapes of the show during the movie,
it looks like the polka dot door.
It looks like polka dot door. It looks like a higher budget version of the polka dot door.
Yeah,
because they had an animatronic. They had an animatronic bear. Okay, so it's a beautiful movie. Al, did you have a funny part in it, or were you just sobbing the whole time?
I don't know. There's a funny part. I can go the other way. I loved that kid, the teenager. What was his name?
Oh, his friend
from Love
I don't remember the names of any of the kids.
He just plays the nice teenager in all movies now, I think.
It was like
because he's also in Love, Simon.
Yeah, like he got to be like the good-hearted teenage character with a conscience, and it just made me so happy.
In the movie, he's Spencer.
Oh, okay.
In real life,
right,
he's
and then
Jorge Ledenberg Jr.
And there's also a very sweet.
He might need to change his name to be more famous because that's a difficult name to say.
He's a good actor, though.
Ledenberg.
Yeah,
he's great. He's a great actor, and so far he plays an excellent good friend in the movie.
Not to typecast him, but
he should be typecast.
Right,
he's a great good friend.
I want to go through a couple of the other actors' performances. One of them is Greg Kinnear, who is the police officer that originally works with him and becomes kind of a mentor friend. And I mean, Greg Kinnear to me is one of these guys at this point can effortlessly be in anything and lend it a level of credibility and quality. And he's so wonderful in this.
Humor. He has a very delicate way to bring humor to a dramatic role. He doesn't overdo it. It's so heartfelt. And it comes from As Good as It Gets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like he shined so much in that movie with that particular element of his acting ability, and this works perfectly in this movie.
Was he in the old Sabrina? Not the old red, the remake. Was he in the Sabrina with him?
Yes, he's in the remake.
With Harrison Ford.
I love
it. So he can do like the dashing, like dum-dum, but you know, he also can do this sort of vulnerable yet a bit trying to be tough but kind of nerdy.
Yeah, and I think it's a movie where the sensitivity of this performance of those actors needed to be that way to make it work. And I'm going to talk about one of the cameos, which I think was a little controversial, but I think
it was controversial. I don't think
in
it
my
been
mind,
in the movie.
Andy Samberg, who's one of the producers of the movie, appears in a scene
what Becky thinks,
where he plays a mentally ill character, and I thought he played it totally straight with a little bit of humor, but not anything campy or overdone that you're used to seeing him. And again, there was a sensitivity to that character.
For sure, he just is too. His face is too Andy Samberg. He just can't. be in that movie.
I thought it was sweet to have him as the cameo.
He took me out of the movie completely.
I thought it was really sweet.
I was dick in a box.
It was a great little cameo because in the credits you see his name in the credits. You see the Lonely Island guys, aren't they all like?
Yeah, they're all. Yeah,
but that's not fair. I don't think that's.
And then I'm watching the movie and I'm kind of like, when one of them's gonna appear, and I thought it was like, oh, this is well done because it's such a tiny part and it's not. And it's more endearing than it is meant to be.
I see it as a bit selfish on his part. I'm like, don't be in the movie.
It was distracting.
It was super distracting. Yeah, and that part is supposed to be somebody very sensitive, like that he's supposed to relate to. And well, he did a good job. It's not that his acting wasn't good, but I think he's too big and recognizable as, what's his name? Jake Peralta.
No, because you want to yell 9-9 when you see him going
exactly. The part was too small.
For me, I liked him taking a small part that he kind of disappeared into, but he
didn't disappear. His giant face was just screaming at me every scene that he was in.
And
I love him, but I was just like, Jake, what are you doing?
Okay, and now let's get to the big one. The small part as well probably isn't in the movie as much as Andy Samberg, but to me the thing that pushed this over the edge to be one of my favorite movies I saw in the last year. What did people think of Mark Hamill as the?
Which is great. Obviously, you want to talk about it.
Why don't you go first?
Again, I'm like,
it's nice of you to be polite, but everybody knows you.
Well, no, to me, it's further proof that we need more Mark Hamill. I thought he plays a character that you have to be both angry about, but also understand why the main character loves him and wants a relationship with him. And he has a couple of very small scenes where he has to share, he has to be loving and thoughtful, but also, so wrong and so bad on a certain level.
Also, the only reason that they, from what I understand, make up this entire thing They don't believe any of that stuff.
No, they don't believe.
They
He's
just,
the
it's
guy
just
who
to hide
creates.
him.
He's the guy who creates Brigsby Bear. For anyone who's listening.
No, but he lies and says that they can't breathe the air outside. That's why they can't go outside. None of that he believes. He's not like some kook who's like in like a cult that believes like the world is ending. He just was hiding the kid, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He goes to work every day.
So for me,
right?
I think you're right. It's
all
not
of that's
clear.
true. But you feel the love between these two characters,
Right.
and Mark Hamill carries that so well.
Right, I think because he's not actually... I mean, he's crazy because he kidnapped this kid, but there's obviously some sort of, like, balance to this person that he does so well. He's just like a guy when he's talking.
I thought it was too small of a part. Like, he was so good in it, it made me want to have more scenes with him.
Yeah, and Mark Hamill plays... So I've caught a bunch of his cameos in other shows, like when he plays the trickster on The Flash, or he's in that episode of Chuck where he's an over-the-top kind of Bond villain character. And aside from his iconic Luke Skywalker role, he plays a lot of really over-the-top bad guys, which he's terrific at. Many would argue that he does the best version of the Joker. Most people don't know he was the voice of the Joker in many animated Batman iterations. And so he's very accomplished at doing these like great kind of villain characters. But it's not often that, aside from in The Last Jedi, where you get to see him be really kind of a subtle old man actor character. And he just knocked it out of the park. And to me, it was a very small but amazing role. And proof that we should just have more Hamill. More Hamill.
Yes, proof that we should have more Hamill. Yeah.
You guys want to weigh
Agreed.
in on Hamill? Allie's just
Agreed.
combing her hair at this point. She's like, I have tuned out.
The number of hours I spent dedicated to unpacking Mark Hamill in this house are numerous.
Do they
No, but-
rival how many hours you spent talking about the Chuck finale? Because
I
me
can't.
tell you.
I can't even open the can of worms. It's too painful. No, but I think that for those of us who know Mark Hamill from his Luke role, but who are not nearly as deep into the literature as you three are when it comes to Star Wars, like the fact that he took this role, I'm like, oh, if Mark Hamill took this role in this kind of obscure film, like that means something. That lends some credibility to the film in my mind, from my like kind of outsider, uneducated perspective. When I explained the film to Brandon, he was like, oh, Mark Hamill does anything besides Luke Skywalker? And I was like, I know, who knew? Like, got, some weight in the corner for that film. So I thought he was
I'm
excellent.
impressed with them for getting him.
Yeah.
And I will say the only reason why I knew about this movie is because he was a really good egg about promoting it constantly on social media. He's one of my favorite people to follow on social media.
He's very funny.
Now, Beck, I'd be curious to know how much of that is contracted and how much is him just being proud to work on
I
this.
feel like
But
he seems like a guy who's proud.
yeah,
like-
he will.
yeah, I'm going to
impression-
go with he's a guy that's
the
proud.
impression. The
I
impression
feel like I
got.
doubt that they were like, not only do you have to be in this movie, but you have to promote it.
Yeah,
Twenty
I
times.
agree.
They're just like, thank you, and gracefully accepted.
Just seems like
his
you see like
being-
the way he posts stuff. Like he just seems like a guy that's a nice person. When he likes someone or believes in something, he does posts about it.
I'm with
Yep.
you, and it was from how many times he posted about this movie that I had never heard of that I was willing to check it out, and so I loved it. All right, so I definitely give it a hard buy.
Oh, bye. I definitely watch it again.
Buy for sure. Hard buy.
Strong rent. I just can't have all those feels all the time. It's too much.
Okay, that's okay. And now I would say we're going to do like an extended recommendation section before we get into shows and things. Sort of like an extended "What are we watching?" section. Alli, Lily, and I went with our parents to see Operation Finale last night, which we'll talk about in a moment. But before the movie, there were basically 100 previews, and so.
And we for sure missed some.
Yeah, because we came in a couple minutes late. So, Beck, we're going to...
50 previews.
I'm going to
for the
run
movie.
through the
That's part of
previews.
the movie.
I
It
would
is.
pay.
I would pay just
I
to
would
go to
pay
see
just
previews.
to watch
Yes.
2 hours of previews
On the big screen.
with like some
100%.
popcorn and snacks on the
That
big
should be
screen.
a fun
Agreed.
event.
I love previews.
So, okay, well...
Like, as much as I'm fascinated by the movie-making magic of an actual film, I'm equally fascinated by the trailer-making magic.
Wait, can we sidebar for a second? That was one of my childhood career dreams, was to be a movie trailer maker.
I agree
Didn't-
with you, and we can maybe one day make that happen. We can open a business.
And-
we can make trailers together.
I bring nothing to the table artistically,
And-
technically, or otherwise, except a level
Gusto.
of previews.
Gusto and a level
And
of
Alli
previews.
is missing her opportunity to drop a serious...
We know
Thing
she
for-
was a model. We
No,
know. She's
no.
a child.
I mean, does it say or not say at all?
That The Holiday, Cameron Diaz's character,
true.
makes
Way to connect
movie
the dots.
trailers.
Way to connect the dots.
Makes movie trailers. So I'm just saying that's another. Okay, so here's some of the movies we saw previews for. Beck, I don't know if you've seen some, but quickly we're just like thumbs up, thumbs down, or make like a positive or mean comment about them. Mary Queen of Scots, I only saw the name of it because it was just when I walked in the theater.
There was a lot of yelling in very Scottish accents in the trailer, and a lot of red hair and very pale skin.
And an actress who...
Margot Robbie or Cersei.
Yeah.
Cersei or Saoirse Ronan.
Okay. Becky, do you
Or
have you heard
Saoirse.
of the movie? Have you heard of the movie?
It's about Scotland. If
Is it
James
about
Fraser's
Scotland?
not
No.
in it,
Did you watch the
then I
trailer?
don't watch it.
Oh,
Okay.
if it's not anybody from Outlander, we're not interested. Gotcha.
You're telling me it's something about Scotland and
I'm
James.
sure
What are all of his middle names? McDougal.
McGonagall Fraser or
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever. He's not in it.
Oh,
I'm
so
not.
this is just
Jamie
like
Alexander McGonagall.
this is just an
Fraser.
Outlander movie. Okay.
No, I'm sure it's Margot Robbie and Miss Ronan.
Scorsese Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan. I'm sure it's awesome. I'm sure they're amazing actresses, but there's a lot of yelling, and I came in like halfway through.
Okay. Then we saw.
Wait, can we pause for a second? Do you know why Lily didn't see the entire preview? It's because she was stopping to take
Don't
pictures
embarrass me,
of the
Allison.
theater. We walked in.
Allie's
And
like, "Look,
I'm
sit
creeping down to our seats, and I turn around, and Lily's back at the top
Like
of the
the
theater.
paparazzi
And I'm
taking
like,
photos
is
of the
she
theater.
hurt? Is there something wrong? Is she like having
She keeps
a panic
waving me
attack?
over, and I'm like, hang on a second. And she's like, what?
She's stopping to take a breath and a photo of the magic that is an American movie theater with its reclining
You
chairs.
sound like such a weirdo.
Well, to be
Amazing.
clear, the
foreign-
movie theater near mom and dad's doesn't have the cool reclining seats. So that's been the theater you've gone to the most in the States.
I think the only one.
It's as if I'm the guy from Brigsby Bear. And I have been living in a world where theaters look like they always did since I can remember. Like, I remember the jump to stadium seating, right? So, like, in Spain, do not laugh. We don't have stadium seating at our theaters.
Can you just ash directly on someone's
Yes,
head?
you can smoke in the theater. They're all on one row. So you see the movie in a bunch of hair. No one ever sees the entire screen because it's just a bunch of rows in a row. So then I do appreciate... So when I go to mom and dad's theater, which is stadium seating, which we've had for like at least 20 years, I'm like, oh, this is so modern. So that's like exciting enough for me. Then, Becky, I go to Shai and Alli's theater last night, and they basically paid somebody to put a movie on in their living room with better chairs than they actually have in their living room. It was crazy. Each chair... I'll explain it to you. For
we
people
know
who don't
because
know.
we live.
Lily, you don't need to explain it because everybody else lives in America.
Is that
No,
what all
no.
theaters are?
not everybody who listens to this podcast.
No, there are
Don't
people
be
who live
presumptuous.
in Holland, the Netherlands.
Ash lives in the UK, and
I mean,
Sorry.
I would be
There's some
surprised
folks
if
in- there's some
Ashley
folks
doesn't.
in
For
work.
Israel?
our foreign listeners, please explain what a modern movie theater looks like.
Okay, you walk in and like it's as if the entire plane is first class, because instead of there being 300 rows like in a normal plane, there's only like 12 rows, and that's why you need assigned seatings because there's 4 seats. Now I can understand how you could do a big movie premiere here.
no, they have bigger theaters. We were not in the biggest theater.
Oh my
in
god,
that
there's
place.
bigger ones with more of those chairs.
Yeah,
You know,
with
to
the
be
whole-
fair, I've never actually been to a theater.
Because you go to see your
like
movies
the
at
one you're
Pixar.
describing.
Everybody knows on our podcast. You get to see the movies at the theater that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's perfect. We get it and it's free.
doesn't have reclining chairs.
It doesn't have reclining chairs though.
Not have reclining chairs. They're actually very stiff chairs that force you to sit up and stay awake the whole movie.
But it's perfect and it's free. So these are basically like gigantic reclining chairs that you can lift up the legs and put the back down with a little remote on the side of the arm, a gigantic drink holder, massive armrests, and there's like 4 chairs in a row, and you can watch the movie with like 3 other people and your family.
How'd your picture come out? Was it good?
I have a very cute picture of Alli, actually, that I should probably, if she lets me, put on social media after this, because it is adorable.
So after Mary Queen of Scots, we saw. I don't remember the full name of it, but it was
Bad
called the El
Times-
Royale.
The Bad Times of the El
I kept wanting
Royale.
to call it the El Royale with cheese because it
That's
had
fun.
this serious Tarantino vibe to it. There was Jeff Bridges, there was John Hamm, the time period was completely unclear, there was murder. Anyways, I thought, I had no idea what it's about, but it looked super cool. I really want to see that.
Totally in on that one. I'm in.
Then
I'll see it with you.
Yeah, I will see it with you. And then this is how decisions are made in our house.
Yeah.
So then
I love you. No, I love you more. That's Shai and Alli's biggest fight.
So
Also, and I fight just when we say hi to each other. Like, hello. No, you hello. Hola. No, I said hello. God damn it. And they're like, I love you. No, I love you more.
So we saw the preview for this movie Marwen, which was I was a little bit at first. I'm like, oh, Steve Carell playing a broken person again.
No, this movie, I cried through the first time I saw that preview by myself at home.
Yeah.
Cried through. It went down the rabbit hole of this amazing guy's story.
Oh my
True story.
god.
It's an amazing story about a guy who loses
Yeah.
his memory because he's brutally attacked,
Yeah.
and he essentially has to rebuilds his life from photos by building an art installation. And
Oh
the movie
yes, I
switches
know.
incredible.
I saw the preview and cried through the preview. I know exactly which one you're talking
So
about.
100%.
Two thumbs up.
Never seen that.
I don't know if I can do it.
Then there was a preview for this movie called The Sisters Brothers.
You know what? I read about this movie before seeing the trailer. And I read about...
You just said Gyllenhaal. Anything with a
No,
Gyllenhaal,
I didn't
and you're
even
like,
realize he was
"Ooh."
in it. It was John C. Reilly. I was reading an interview with him about how you wouldn't think, but him and Joaquin Phoenix have never done a Western. Neither one of them have done Westerns, although they seem very Western-y for like the perfect guys for a Western, but neither one of them
Jake Gyllenhaal doing a Western? I am in.
Yeah, I mean, duh. But the problem is that I read this article where John C. Reilly pitches the movie like to the journalist because it's not out yet, and explains the movie and talks about how it's so cool that like there's a bit more relationship between the brothers and they're more vulnerable. They talk about their emotions and they're not like your typical shoot 'em up cowboys. And then I was like, oh wow, this sounds like really interesting. These two guys explains their story, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's like John C. Reilly. You should have written this movie because
Also-
did not look like a good trailer.
Joaquin Phoenix sort of resurfaces every once in a while with the beard, so not interested in that. Then there was the preview for White Boy Rick,
Which was cool.
which looked much better. It was, what was the one? It's another one of these stylized 70s crime story movies, which I feel like I've seen so many where it's all about the wigs and the clothes.
Oh, the one with what's his name? The American, not American
they all went
Gangster.
together.
The one with Amy Adams.
Yeah.
The Silver Linings Playbook director.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, it strikes me a little bit like that.
That's how much
but
I don't care about
this
that
preview
movie.
was really good.
American Hustle.
Then there was.
But it looks like that like mashed up with Shameless almost in a way.
Yeah. And then there was, and I'm going to save the big one for last, but then there was a Creed 2. Just the trailer for me, I would watch that over and over again. I love that.
I'm sorry, if you put somebody on the screen that is practicing boxing with weights on their feet underwater in a swimming pool, I'm in. I'm just like watching that 1 second of him training, and I was like, "Oh my god, I want this montage right
Is
now."
that like the deepest level of training you
That's
can
like
do?
serious
Is that
training.
like ninja?
We know Jose is not to be bothered, but we know many people who train that
That's
way.
like a real thing.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
and-
Underwater with weights?
And not only that, that
or-
person in
or
the
in a
preview
pool,
is
training in
Michael
the
B.
pool.
Jordan. So on top of this is like, oh, it's a Rocky movie, but you have Michael B.
like,
Jordan
I love
being
that.
an amazing actor. You have Sylvester Stallone when he is actually at his best, which in my view is when he plays these subtle, more broken down characters, like the older version of Rocky he played in Creed, or the character he
It's
played
the
in
same
Copland.
character. He's just in this.
No, or Copland, or the character he
the
played in
same
Copland.
movie, just
No,
a sequel.
Copland. Versus
Creed
Rock-
and Copland, Lily. He's giving you a second example.
Yeah, and I also
I love when he plays these parts, like in Korean One.
Stallone.
as opposed to Rocky in the Rocky movies, who I don't really care about. But anyways,
Same pork pie hat.
anyways.
Point.
So, anyways, I'm 100% on that. But then came the preview for a movie I have
The
had...
most controversial preview of the night.
Because the movie where I was like, ugh, but I have to say at the end of that preview, I'm like, okay, you got me listening. And this is A Star Is Born, starring Gaga and Bradley
I bet
Cooper.
Lily wants to see that.
I'm so.
I bet
I bet
Lily
you
has
could sound
already
more
pre-purchased her
judgmental.
tickets.
I bet.
No,
I
I
will
think
go
it's going to
with
be
you.
great. I just feel like
But
Lily's
Alli, it
just
worries
like,
me when you're the only one of the bunch who's like, I really want to see that. And I'm sitting across from you in the theater and I'm like, oh yeah, awesome. I've got an Ally. And then I'm like, is that good? Is that good
But
though?
let's unpack what's there.
Yes.
It's like
I do appreciate it.
regardless-
You want to see it with me.
Regardless of my taste in media, which
It's
clearly
just
is not for
confusing.
debate.
I don't know the rules. I don't understand your days.
I have my own system. No, okay, you've got Bradley Cooper, who undeniably
I will watch doing anything.
is amazing.
Yeah.
You've got Gaga, who...
I am sold, dude. I saw her live. I
She's
think I've
like
talked
a
about this before.
chameleon.
We know.
I, like,
You and
didn't
Gaga are
even recognize her.
BFFs.
She's got like she's got like clearly the vocal thing, but I believe that she can also act.
You think?
I do.
Oh, she can
not
act. She's
watch-
a trained actor. She knows
Yeah,
how to
yeah.
act.
I've
She-
seen her. I
no
couldn't
one should
get
debate
through
that
the
Gaga can
horror
act.
story. It was just so
Plus, you
disgusting
have
that she was
them
in.
mashed up with what was that Crazy Heart? It's got like a Crazy
there's a little
Heart
bit of a
thing.
Crazy
Like
Heart
it's
vibe.
all the things that I want to watch in one movie. I'm like all in on this.
Well,
But are you interested
You're
in
losing me
seeing,
at Crazy Heart.
Oh,
But
so good,
Are
Becky.
you interested in seeing the
Stars
like
Born
like
original?
the like one of the 3 other
So-
ones? That
I
are there?
haven't seen
there's
any
like
of the
5
other
other
ones,
ones.
so I don't-
I
I'm
think it's been
coming
made
in
like
blind.
5 other times.
But like if this story is something that you like, it exists
Yeah,
already.
I'll go back and watch them all. We'll make like a whole night of
But
it.
You're
my
gonna watch
question is,
Chris- Ugh.
my question is, had you not known this movie was around?
I like
or
vaguely knew that this existed, but I had never seen any of the previous ones, and I didn't care. I was like, I'm watching Bradley Cooper, I'm watching Gaga, and I love.
I have to say,
everything
like,
I'm seeing.
if they need to make one of these for every generation, I'm pleased that this is ours.
yeah,
That's fine. I will say I caught the Bradley not the Bradley, the Whistler, what's his name? Whistler from Blade. Chris Christopherson. That's what I remember him as. Chris Christopherson and
Streisand.
Barbara Streisand, who I pretty much only like her in Meet the Fockers too. Meet the Fockers, the first Meet the Fockers. I don't think there's another movie I really...
You mean just Meet the Fockers?
Meet the Fockers, that's it. No, because the second one, Little Fockers, is not good. But
Right.
Meet the Fockers.
Okay.
I like that she exists. She's obviously really important to her mom. She's a hero. But in
Yentl?
Yentl, yeah, but like...
Papa, can you hear me?
Yeah, so...
it's only funny in Deadpool.
So, the...
I think that was the Deadpool bit, yeah.
So...
You want to build a snowman?
I watched. I watched.
Is that really in Yentl? That scene is really.
I watched
sad.
a few minutes of the Stars Born with the two of them, and it just seemed like him drunk, like yelling at her.
Well, I feel like
And
they
don't
must
know-
have updated something. I mean,
Well,
obviously
we
they're
hope.
gonna fight. They're gonna have a drunken fight in the movie.
But I will say, seeing Gaga in this, and seeing her sing in particular, and Bradley Cooper in that wearing that Jeff Bridges look, I'm very interested in
he
seeing
really
it.
sings. He's actually singing in all the.
I don't know.
He actually sings.
Oh, good
I'm
for
not
him.
sorry. It sounds like I'm
I don't
asking
think
a
you can
question.
do that movie if they can't sing.
No,
They
he's
have to sing.
singing.
Cooper can sing.
Yeah, apparently he can. And they were like, "Oh, what was it like for you to have to audition for him?" Because he's the director. So like, you have to audition for him, and he's obviously like got acting chops. And then he had to like sing in a studio with you, and you're you. That's like kind of weird. And she was like, "Well, he made me audition 3 times, and was like sold." And he's a rock star in the studio, so we're good.
Yeah.
So she gets her endorsement.
I-
if you get her endorsement, then
I will
he
say
must be able to sing.
I will never watch American Horror Story, but
No,
I have
yeah, I
no
tried.
doubts in Gaga's acting talents, and everyone. And I feel like when this movie comes out, everyone's going to make a big deal about, oh, Gaga acting, can she act, and all that. And I feel like, again, there shouldn't be a debate. I'm sure the woman can act. I'm sure she's very talented. If anything, what seeing this preview makes me want to see is, I just want to see her in a movie, kind of like when Madonna did.
Moby Dick?
No,
Dick
Moby
Tracy. Dick Tracy.
Well, okay, so I'm comparing this a little bit to Madonna doing Dick Tracy.
I got there.
Yeah.
My brain just took a step.
But Madonna in A League of Her Own is amazing. So I want to see
Oh,
Gaga
that's a
do.
very
I-
good point. But she's not the lead.
She's not the lead. She's great as a side character.
Right. Well, whatever. Gaga can be a lead character too at some point. My point is that I want to see her. This is great.
this
I'm
is
excited for her.
interesting.
I hope it proves to everyone.
You know what's interesting? Gaga would never be in a movie as a side character. Like she's the lead
Why?
character.
What about American Horror Story? She's a side character.
No,
in
she's
a
the
TV show.
villain.
But how much is she in it?
I think she was in it. She won
Okay.
an Emmy.
What's the last preview, guys?
No, that was it.
So this is a lot of Gaga. Oh, that was it? Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Not
It's a lot of
really
Gaga.
Too much
Be-
Gaga.
Becky has ended the Gaga. All right. Now let's get to our recommendations and what we've been watching. Becky, what have you been watching?
What have I been watching? I've been watching Money Heist. I apparently have nothing new to contribute. I just watch things that other people on this podcast recommend.
No, but Beck, you still have the highest number of I Told You shows on the
I
show,
do.
so it's time for
But
you
I'll
to catch
discover
up.
something
on us.
new.
But tell me a little about Money Heist. I don't expect an I Told You show. I'm just very curious about what
No,
your
I find
experience
it
is.
like I actually my biggest problem with it is that the subtitles move so quickly. I can't catch what I'm getting the gist of it without actually.
You don't need to worry about what they're saying.
It's not
Uh,
the
it's a-
subtitles are epically
I think
grammatically
because
wrong,
you
because that's amazing.
I think because you set it up as a soap opera, I'm super enjoying it. It's
Right,
a really
because-
it's
yeah.
nothing I haven't seen before as far as like heist, team craziness.
Right.
But I think it's a really fun show to like watch at the end of the day to just unplug, and I'm totally loving it.
Oh, cool. Good. good. I'm glad. I'm not saying you have to give me I Told You So. Nobody.
No, you know what? I've been thinking a lot about the Killing Eve non-I Told You show. And when I sat down to watch Money Heist, I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like, it's not the best thing I've ever seen, but it's super fun. And Vlad was being such a pain in the ass about it. And I finally, after the first episode, I just stopped it and I was like, leave the room. If you don't like it, no one's forcing you to watch it. And I was like, you ruined Killing Eve for me. I'm not going to let you ruin this too.
Oh, that's good. We should have had like a 1-minute conversation about yucking somebody else's yum in TV.
Yeah,
and so this could be a future maybe podcast topic. Because you can really like influence somebody's opinion so much when you're watching with them.
I was loving Killing Eve, and then he would just pop in there and talk about how this is silly and that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, you're really ruining it for me. So I feel
the
like
beginning doesn't make sense.
The ending takes a turn.
So I feel like you didn't get the I Told You show for Killing Eve because Vlad influenced me, but we can,
I feel vindicated. I'm good.
So I will give Alli credit, though, because she's the one who introduced not yucking people's yum into our household vocabulary. It's something we tell the kids. Okay, so let's see. We've been watching a couple of things here. We've been watching a couple of things here. Number one, we watched the first couple episodes of Jack Ryan on Amazon. And
It's great. Totally endorse it.
I will say...
TV show?
Yeah.
If they turned it into a show.
Krasinski.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Krasinski.
Did he do a movie?
A National Treasure. Am I right, guys?
Did he do a movie, or has it always been a TV show?
No, there's like a bunch of movies. He's
But did
never done a
Krasinski-
movie. No.
Did
just a
Krasinski
show.
play him in a movie?
No.
No,
So Krasinski's only ever been...
Oh my god, he's only ever played him in a show.
I thought there was a movie.
There's like 5 movies, Becky, with other
Who
actors.
plays him in the movies? Who
Who's
plays
the
him
other
in the
movies?
movie?
Alec
Harrison
Baldwin,
Ford.
Harrison Ford,
What?
Chris Pine,
Ben Affleck.
Ben
Have all played the
Affleck,
character.
Chris Hemsworth,
Not Chris Hemsworth. Just name
William
it.
Shatner, Patrick Stewart. Everybody's been him.
I
John
don't-
Krasinski.
I have never heard of this series or this gentleman, Mr. Ryan, before.
It's like a generational divide. You're just like 3 years.
Willie, wait, hold on.
Like
Let me start.
younger.
Let me-
If they are not
it's-
called Jack Ryan, it's Hunt for Red October. Becky, you've heard of that?
Patriot Game.
Oh yeah, of course I know
Patriot
Hunt for Red
Games, you've heard of
October.
that?
Clear and
I
present
know all
danger.
those.
All
I know all those movies.
So those 3 are
You
actually...
didn't notice that they named the same guy Jack Ryan in all those movies?
I don't remember the name of the character from each of them. Sorry.
So all 3 of those movies are in the same universe, meaning like they just recast Alec Baldwin as Harrison Ford. Then they made a one-off with Ben Affleck, and then they made a one-off with...
But it's also important to say that they're all based on
Books.
They're all
Tom Clancy
a Tom
books.
Clancy character that have been reimagined as movies over
Except
time.
for Chris Pine. That movie was just because they...
And that has
used the
nothing to
story.
do with Jason Bourne.
No,
No,
he's not...
but you know what? I had a moment where I was like, does this have anything to do with Jason Bourne? So I hear you on that one.
So he's supposed to be more of an everyman, although he was in the Marines, I believe. So
He
he's
was.
not he's not like he isn't trained, because otherwise it would actually be kind of unbelievable that they would take him into the field situations that they take him into. But he's a CIA analyst that uncovers a big thing, and they go around the world to try to fight bad guys. So I would say what is good about this, in my view, and I give this a strong recommendation to people, especially if you already have Amazon Prime, is that the plot is nothing in the first 2 episodes that anyone hasn't seen before about on 24
terrorists
or
or
anyone
Homeland.
going around, or Homeland, or trying to fight terrorists. But I love Krasinski as Jack Ryan. I think it's a great casting. It's a great take, and I like that they're developing it over multiple episodes. To me, this is a great way of telling the story. And then Wendell Pierce plays Greer, who was the character that James Earl Jones played in the original movies.
Wendell Pierce is from The Wire.
Yeah, Wendell Pierce from The Wire. He is awesome, and the 2 of them are awesome together. So for me, it's the characters, not the story. The story is kind of irrelevant to me at this point, but the characters are super, and I want to keep watching them. And then the other big movie we saw, the other big thing we saw is last night, Lily, Alli, and I saw Operation Finale, which is the movie about the real story of Mossad agents hunting down Adolf Eichmann in Argentina, starring Oscar Isaac, Sir Ben Kingsley.
Who was one of the organizers of the Holocaust.
Oh, yeah, sorry. For those who aren't listening, Adolf Eichmann was the architect of the Holocaust. Led to, millions and millions of people dying.
10 million people.
10 million.
I had a
Yeah.
very serious conversation in the car with the kids today, trying to explain all that. Hey, what mommy and daddy watched at the movies last night?
It's intense.
Well, and so I will just say that I give it a hard buy. I loved it. On a certain level, I think it was a routine Argo-style movie, a suspense thriller about a true event or Munich kind of thing. And I read some reviews that are a little bit dismissive of it. For me, I thought it was really well done. I loved the cast. It was much more of an ensemble movie than I thought. The commercials make it seem like it's Oscar Isaac hunting Nazis, and it's actually really about this team. And the time they spend together and the different points of view that each of the characters represent as they're dealing with the moral issues of kidnapping this awful person. And Ben Kingsley, I mean, one of the great actors of our time, still putting in great actor performances. Holy moly,
he can make a bunch of schlock films. Right? He makes like a bunch of like rando films, and then he just walks onto a set, and you're like, and we're done here.
Ben Kingsley,
brilliant in this
he's
movie.
A genius. But as I have already blown up Twitter, to me, the hidden gem of this movie, or the MVP for me, is Nick Kroll. Believe it or not, Nick Kroll of The League, and The League is and the guy who played Ira or the douche. I wouldn't remember which one on Parks and Rec.
Plays the douche.
He plays the douche.
He plays Raphael Eitan, who is a real. I mean, they're all real people. It's surprisingly close to the story. We all of us afterwards were like, this couldn't have been true, and we looked it up, and a lot of it was
very true and pretty incredible.
A lot of it was. I mean, some of it was obviously dramatized, but he was subtle. He was funny at times, but he really nailed the character, and I think he really, after having watched an interview with him, he really took seriously being in this movie and the significance of this story, and I think Nick Kroll, man, want to see him do more drama after having seen this movie. I thought he was a terrific element that put it this way. Him being there was so visible to me because I was such a fan. Alli and I have seen him live even. Was just eye-catching enough that what could have been a routine historical movie evolving this kind of story became like a tad more fun and a tad more interesting. And he just, again, he's hanging with some of the best actors, and he was terrific in it. And while it is not the best Nazi hunting movie, the best Nazi hunting movie is definitely Marathon Man. I think it's a nice, more historically accurate take.
And they do a really good job of weaving in the like delicate pain that you have to be, so careful, I think, with about a movie about this subject. So I thought it was very well made.
There's a lot of poignant moments that I think that they
exactly. It's not just like action and hunting
but they didn't like hit you over the head with those moments. They were subtle. They were very like quiet, and just you had to kind of like stop and appreciate that they kind of like took a moment to recognize someone's specific pain or some specific part of this, and then they moved on. But it was very well done in that way.
The score was really cool. It was different than I expected it to be. And then I'll just say, last but not least, I saw the latest preview for The Predator, which is the new version of The Predator coming out. And there's been all sorts of controversy about this movie being reshot. I'm enjoying just the iterations of the previews because each one is like a different movie, and they're all awesome. And I want to see all of these movies. It looks so much fun.
I want to go see with you and then cover my eyes the whole time. I don't want your kids.
Oh, and then last but not least, something I don't want to see is Lily said...
I'm curious, what Becky's take will be on this, but...
So Lily says, there's a new show with Jim Carrey, and my immediate reaction without seeing the preview was, is it about some guy who's happy on the outside but crying on the inside?
You're like, is it like a sad Jim Carrey that's depressing, or is it like a super fun Jim Carrey? I was like, I don't know, let's watch the preview. And you walked away very disappointed.
Have you seen the ad for this?
A show called Kidding.
I did. I watched the preview last night, actually. It's so funny you brought that up. I watched the preview, and I'm having a hard time imagining how I'm going to watch a whole television series of it. I think I'd like to watch...
like a movie.
A movie of it and be like, wow, his performance was amazing, but I'm wondering how I will emotionally be able to make it through a series.
And I wish, I desperately wish it was more of like a Death to Smoochie kind of movie, which is a great movie, where that he's this,
God, that's so great.
Like a funnier version of a twisted
it looks
TV character.
Depressing, but I also am ready for the, resurgence of Jim Carrey. He's totally brilliant and insane, and I love him. And I would like to see him in more stuff. Right. So
maybe Ace Ventura, son of Ace Ventura. He plays Grandpa Ace Ventura.
100% go watch that movie.
This is the one. There's one of them. Is it the one in Nature where
excuse me, your balls are showing.
That's the line.
I don't think I've ever laughed harder as a kid than to that. When he's like at like the native people's, like, you know, they're all in like
Village.
calves in their village. And he's like, excuse me, your balls are showing. It's amazing. He's a genius. But I want to just quickly recommend a show that I think everybody should see, like, nationwide. It's about a guy who's like a cool dad, kind of nerdy, and he's a cop in a town, but it's a cop on a bike. What do you call those?
Like a
A bicycle?
A bicycle
Or
cop?
or motorcycle.
No, a bicycle. It's like a small
cop either
town.
way. So like either way,
He's a
they're
cop either
police
way, yeah.
officer. It's just different vehicles that they
he's-
ride.
Right, but this is a cop that is on a bike, that rides a bike in a town that's outside of a big city. So it's like a big town. And there's a lot of traffic in neighborhoods, and he rides around, and he gets into like all these like funny adventures, and he is dressed in all neon blue with neon green like addition and accessories to his apparel, so he's super noticeable. And he wears a so it's neon blue helmet with neon green trim, neon blue shirt, neon blue backpack with neon green trim, neon blue shorts.
Are you going to give us the premise of the show?
No,
Or
this
just
is very important. Neon green sneakers with neon blue stripes. Okay, and a bicycle. And he rides around town. This is my bike ride with Shai the other day. Okay? I am riding, Shai and I go on a bike ride. He dresses in full neon blue and neon green with a helmet, and we're biking, and he keeps like putting his arm out as he makes a left turn when there's no traffic. And like, be like, yes, please cross. Thank you, beep, beep. Come on, let's go. And we're riding our bikes on Arlington. And then at one point, he just rides right by me. And I'm like, oh my God, he looks like a cop on Ocean Drive in Miami Beach. This is the premise for a show we should be watching. And Shai's in it. And at one point, we drive by a building where you can kind of see your reflection in the glass of like certain buildings. We ride by, and he turns around and he goes, "Do you see what I'm wearing? I'm wearing all neon blue and neon green." And I was like, "You're kidding, right?" He's like, "I totally coordinated my outfit today." I was like, "With your backpack and your helmet." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I got it." There's proof of this, and I will be tweeting it out.
I want to watch that show.
Alli, do you ever?
That's my new favorite show.
What?
Shai on a bike.
I suggest that everyone snuggle on a couch and watch the Kardashians with Lily.
Oh,
That's
that was
my
fun.
recommendation.
Oh, that was so
Can
fun.
we do it again?
We can.
Okay.
We'll make it happen.
I think it's great that you two have a special show you watch together that I'm not included in.
And not
I
only that,
get
not only
those-
that,
I get
Alli,
those
Alli
rules.
took Lily to a real Kardashian site.
Hotspot.
Yeah, the spot, which for our fans out there of like the Kardashians, of where Tristan, Chloe's baby daddy, got caught cheating on his.
You guys did like a celebrity tour of Arlington?
Well,
Yeah.
Was when
It's
your
by
mom
the
said,
it's by the Jiffy Lube, like half
and
a
the
mile
urgent
from our
care.
house,
It's,
and the
it's like
urgent
it's
care.
the trifecta.
And
the
across
Jiffy
from
Lube, the Urgent Care,
Carvel.
and Carvel. And we were explaining to your mom the relevance of the site, and she goes, but it's a strip club, or you said so it's a strip club, and we're like, no, it's a hookah bar, and your mom goes, but then it couldn't.
No,
be.
I was like, but how did he cheat on them? Did they have sex on the table? And I was like, but I mean, no, Mom. They caught footage of them kissing, and then I guess they went back to his hotel room. I don't know. She like didn't understand.
Mom
the
was
logistics.
basically,
confused
Mom was
with the
like,
hookah
were they in
connection.
different zip codes? So does it
Like,
count as cheating?
right,
Like, Mom
like-
was very much giving
Mom
him
was
a
like,
pass.
it was just
So
it was
funny.
just kissing, whatever. And then Mom came in and watched part of the Kardashians with me and Alli, and every time one of them came on the screen, Mom was just like, "But isn't that the other one? Isn't that the other one?" Oh, it was
It's hard to
just-
tell the difference because all their faces have just
Right.
been
And
melded
then-
into
Yeah,
one.
and
gets confusing.
and then Lily and I were having this meta moment where we were walking and we were talking about the Kardashians, and I always said I don't watch it because I don't like reality TV, but I enjoy that show of the reality TV shows. And I was thinking, like, Lil, it's a show where that centers around three siblings that make fun of their mother to her face and behind her back on a regular basis.
That's what I said to Mom. When Mom came and watched it with me and Alli, I was like, "Mom, they love their mom so much and they make fun of her all the time. This show is us, basically."
It's just like the podcast.
Yeah.
Minus all the plastic surgery.
And like the millions and billions
That's
of dollars.
The mega empire.
All right, let us turn to shoutouts. Becky, You got any shout-outs?
Yeah, I want to shout out to Melanie Lubin Zimmerman, who's visiting me.
Hey,
So
Melanie.
shout out to you
I have to
for
say,
being
Melanie gets like if we have an award for like movie, like you, like Shai, how I like when and now my mind is blanking, but when I call you and I'm like
Emergency
the
iTunes
emergency iTunes, like what Melanie did for Becky is an emergency like movie theater get. That's
It's a
pretty amazing.
superpower. It's
That
amazing.
was that's a great story.
That's Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah. So
Lily, shout-outs?
To the actor that's going to play Shai, so Shai in my future TV show, about you riding a bike as a cop.
Alli.
I'm going to give a shout out to our neighbors, who I don't know if they want to be named on the podcast. So
You can name them.
okay, well, I don't know. what the
Shai
rules
definitely
are.
names
I'd
one
take
of them all the time.
So a shout out to Katie and Brandon, who A, are watching our children so that we can record this podcast, and B, we just have the best neighbors and friends across the street, and we love them.
That is true. And I've got some shout-outs. One to Lindsey, a.k.a. Afros XII on Twitter, because we had an amazing deep discussion about The
Godfather,
The
I
Godfather
know.
3 and Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Which
And-
I will take issue with another time.
but that was really fun. Also, I want to, it's sort of like a reverse shout out to the segment that we did of Josh's complaints from a couple of weeks ago. That's another one that I've gotten a lot of really nice messages about. So we will bring Josh back to give his list of complaints in a little while. And then again, I'll just shout out again to the folks at All Star Comic Con, where Friday Night Movie and Pancake for the Table will be June 7th to 9th, 2019. We're very excited about that. And with that, the theme song will kick in by What Does It Eat? And Lily's kind of dancing.
I've already started dancing.
Lily's dancing. Allie's dancing.
I'm bobbing. I'm bobbing.
Allie's twirling her hair and dancing. I'm grooving. I'm doing the Jose finger dance. And thank you guys for doing this. Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. Wow, Alli, you look like you've been eating a lot of cheese balls.
It's not a good
not even-
idea.
Oh, those look so good. Shai, I wanted to open them so badly when I was at your house.
Why didn't you?
My mouth is watering. Because it was like very late.
You
I need cheese
I
balls.
tried a few. They
Alright.
don't taste like the originals, I feel like.
Are they
They're
crispy
they're
though? They
a
look like they're
Target
crispy.
knockoff.
Oh yeah, for sure, crispy. I started
remember.
eating them the other night, and I had like a little bit of a bite of the cheese balls, and I said at the beginning, I said, oh, these don't taste the way my brain wants them to.
Why?
But
What's
maybe
missing?
if I keep eating, they'll start to taste right, and they did.
They're not cheesy enough.
And nope, don't worry, keep eating them. And then I had already gotten through a quarter of
Okay,
the
I'm
bin
trying this again.
when I realized
Jeez.
they were so good.
Oh, that's good.
Better.
But
Okay.
they're not cheesy
Not
enough?
okay.
Is that what it is?
No, don't worry, they will get cheesier as you eat them. You need to eat them in fistfuls.
No. You shouldn't eat anything this color.
Hi there, Friday Night Movie fans. This is an extra after credits scene because Lily and I realized when we were writing the notes that we think we forgot a shout out to cousin Vanessa, and it would be bad luck to break that streak. So here's a shout out to cousin Vanessa. Thanks for listening.